What's going on, guys? Austin Zaback here with another episode of the Austin Zaback Show. We have a very special guest, actually, that I've known for quite some time, Jordan Beau.
What's going on, guys?
And Jordan, you guys have probably seen him before on Instagram, on YouTube. You've done daily vlogs, you've done pranks, you've done like all of the above.
I've done it all.
I've literally watched you for years and years and years. You've got millions of views across all the platforms, tens of millions probably. And
Yep.
It's cool to see what you've done, bro, at a really young age. How old are you?
23.
23.
Just turned 23.
Man, that's awesome, dude. I remember, I think I met you the first time when you were like probably 18 or 19 years old.
I think 19, because it was at Tanner's, yeah?
We were at Tanner's, yeah.
So, yeah, it must have been 19.
In Temecula. I think he just bought that house, pretty recently.
Maybe 20.
Maybe 20.
Yeah.
Okay, and you guys were blowing it up back then. What was your, what were you like, what was the main content you guys were doing back then? Was it like the prank stuff, or what was it?
It wasn't pranks. It was more like lifestyle, almost like Mr. Beast stuff. Like, what's the craziest title thumbnail we can make that makes no sense? Like, we're just doing it to do it.
How did you come up with that kind of content? I was always curious, like, did you start with like the title and thumbnail first, or did you think of title and thumbnail after you had the video?
Ideally, you always want to think of it first so that you're not just, can I cuss on this podcast?
Of course.
You're not just fucking off and like figuring it out, because usually when you film a vlog, which we would do a lot, like you'd film a vlog, you don't have a content, you just pull something together.
Yep.
If you plan before, then you have like a much clearer vision. It's kind of the same thing as life, right? You have a much clearer vision of where you're going, and then you already have your title thumbnail secured.
Yeah, I like that.
So it's a lot better.
Because title thumbnail's everything, right? I mean, like, we've heard this time and time and time again. You know, where I struggle with it with the podcast, because podcast is so weird. Like, how do you title thumbnail? But I think podcast is just about consistency. You know, you see the dudes that are really murdering it. Like, look at Joe Rogan, bro.
Yeah.
You know, his thumbnails are horrible, right?
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, he's done 2,000 podcasts. So eventually the word just gets out there, you know?
I think for title, it's huge in podcasting. Thumbnail, it's just editing.
Not as important.
Well, again, if you're Joe Rogan, like you said, you built a brand, doesn't matter.
Yep.
The thumbnail could literally be anything.
Yep.
But if you take like impulsive, like it's just good editing. Like, what's a clickable, consistent thumbnail? But then the title's everything.
Yeah, I agree. No, title's like 1,000,000%. Because I'll see, like Lewis Howes, the dude that has a podcast set similar to this, like he'll do like a 2-hour-long interview with like, let's just say, they literally talk about everything, right, on the podcast, and then he'll title it like five easiest ways to get rich.
Yeah.
Right, and it's like the amount of time they actually talk about that particular thing in the overall podcast is like 2 minutes.
That's the best part. You have
100%.
so much to pull from for title.
Yep, you do.
So you pull from the clickiest thing, and then that's it.
And then you could chop down the videos though too, right? Like and do like short form content where you have like, you know, clip channels, which is really cool. So that's what we're trying to do. I got to get like another editor, and you know how it goes.
Yeah, of course.
So what type of content are you focused on now? I know that like, so what was content, like how did you get into content, I guess, is my first question.
So I've been doing YouTube since March of 2016.
Okay.
Started the channel with my brother. I don't think you remember that.
I don't think I have. No, I think I've seen him on your social media though.
Yeah, I'm sure. So me and my brother, we used to ride scooters professionally, hence why we knew Tanner and a bunch of other people. And at the time, in early 2016, maybe a little before, Tanner got into YouTube, and then, do you know Funk Bros? You know Caper and Corey?
Yeah.
Caper and Corey got in. So we were kind of like, we were early to hop on the bandwagon. We hopped in, did YouTube, started with scooter content, and then at that point, we were just like, we're just two hyped kids.
Yeah.
Any sort of views are getting us stoked, and then we started hitting trends and just doing the shit that was fun to us, which was like trampolines we were already doing, bottle flipping, and then we'd start stuff like Floor is Lava we brought from Facebook to YouTube. And so we were kind of just climbing the ladder of trends, which I can go into later. I kind of regret doing, but at the same time, it's like there was really no other option in our minds back then, because it was like if we were to hop in from like an authenticity standpoint, the growth would have been 100 times slower.
100%, yeah. Because at that time, like the YouTube algorithm, you know, the YouTube algorithm's changed a lot, right? Yeah. And I don't know it probably the level you know it. I have a decent understanding of it from the business, like entrepreneurship side of things. When you look at like Graham Stephan and like Ricky and these guys, I understand it on that level. I'm not at that level, but I understand it. But like on that side of things, I mean, yeah, dude, like I feel like, because that was when, I mean, who were the big dudes at that time? Like Casey Neistat, like...
All the big vloggers, so the big pranksters that were vloggers that like started vlogging. So like Roman was doing well back then. Vitaly was on YouTube. FoozyTube was popping.
I remember all them.
There was them, and then there was also like the new wave. So like Dobrik was killing it. Emma Chamberlain had just popped off. And then Mr. Beast, as per usual, PewDiePie was still relevant. So like I'd say all the creators now were just more relevant because of the algorithm. And I think at the time, you're right, the algorithm then favored trends so much more than it does now.
100%.
Like now, it favors authenticity. So everyone's growing slower.
Sure.
Unless you've already built some sort of A-list platform. So
Which is interesting. I mean, like, what are your thoughts on that in general? I mean, what do you think of the algorithms and everything? I mean, I've seen the algorithm change over the years, right? Like, I mean, I remember when it was all about click-through rate, which means, so it was just the thumbnail, right? If you got somebody to click into the video, view duration didn't really matter, right? It was just, that's what clickbait was from.
I think it still mattered, but not as much as it does now.
Got it, yeah. Yeah, so there was a day and a time where it didn't matter as much then, right?
Yeah, well, it was, like you said, like it was so, first it was based off consistency. So back then it was like that's why people were daily vlogging. It was like post as much as you can, you'll get out there. And I think the algorithm has kind of started to come full circle on that. Like I think we went through like 3 years where consistency was kind of dropped for quality. So it's like post quality content, at least have some sort of set schedule, right? So people know. But dude, once a week, once a week, put a good video out. Now I feel like we're kind of coming back full circle because my channel especially, which we get into, my channel's gone through roller coasters and rebrands and shit. But like, I think right now consistency's picking up again where like the channels that are posting a lot are doing better.
I believe that, yeah. And I'm seeing that right now, bro. Actually, like, and I've never, like, I've looked at all of the dudes that are in all the other niches on YouTube, but like in the niche that I'm in, like I'm seeing dudes, like, have you ever heard like dudes like Ryan Pineda, like, you know, he's like an entrepreneur, kind of like Ricky, right?
Okay.
But like, we'll take Ricky for example, and I love Ricky, by the way, so Ricky, if you're watching this, tons of respect and love, but Ricky, like, it's not like the edits are like anything special, right? I mean, like literally Rick will go out and just like film with a boom mic, like it'll be a little bit windy, like it's not that big, and he'll post it, right?
100%.
But he's so gosh dang consistent, it's ridiculous, right? And he's succeeded in that way, you know, and for his audience, like they love that content.
Yeah.
And then you'll see other people that like every video is like a movie, but you can't post that every day.
Of course.
You know, so you're thinking that now it's going back to more of the consistent side of things as opposed to, you know, 10 hours of editing on one video?
I think it's hybrid. Okay. I think like we are going back depending on your channel, but I think like that quality is always there.
Yeah.
So like I think now we're gonna get into a world where like either consistently upload quality or just upload quality. Quality is always gonna be favored, but like I think again, there's so much content, so much saturation that the only way to become recognized is to put yourself in the face of people all the time, right? Like if people aren't seeing you enough, unless you have your demo and you're hitting algorithm, but hitting algorithm now is impossible.
Yeah. So do you think the two main things that matter now are view duration and click-through rate, or is there any other variables that you'd be paying attention to if somebody was trying to get on like YouTube?
Dude, I think it's so much more than that. Like obviously view duration matters. You can directly see that correlate to your videos, but sometimes there's discrepancies. But like, I think right now, going back to what I was saying, I wish I did from the get-go is like, you have to be authentic from the start. And like, this is kind of goes back to Rick. Like Rick, also he's in business. Business YouTube, you know this? The CPM business YouTube.
#1, right?
Is stupid.
Yeah, my CPM, pisses me off. The CPM for this channel where this video will go is $50, $50 CPM.
That's stupid.
Yeah.
I had a buddy who was doing like a $90 CPM.
Nuts.
If I did a $90 CPM, I'd be wealthier than you.
Oh yeah, 100%. Guarantee
I'd be so rich.
Guarantee it, bro. You've gotten tens of millions of views.
Hundreds
of millions
of views. Cocky ass. No, I'm kidding. I'm joking.
Good.
And so now you look at Rick. Like Rick, the reason Rick's channel's done so well, and think about like Rick's grown at a slow rate.
Very slow.
He just hit 1 million subs.
Just hit 1 million. Yep.
Which I've been at 1 million for as long as Rick's been at like 500K. 100%. So he's been growing more than me, but I just grew way quicker in these spikes.
Yep.
But because Rick did that authentic, that generalized growth where it's just like progressive. His fan base is all there.
100%.
Almost like I'd say 70% of what he's accumulated is there.
Yep.
And though he doesn't get 1 million views of videos, so I guess I don't know how that works in business, but like that slow growth, that linear growth is way better.
100%. I couldn't agree more.
And it drains you a lot less.
Yeah. So authenticity then is really the main thing that like if a person was going to get onto really social media in general, right? Like whether it be Instagram, TikTok, or YouTube, I feel like right now.
Yep.
You know, it's like being authentic to who you are. And like, what does that look and feel like? Like, what do you see right now with influencers, whether it be on TikTok, YouTube, whatever? Like, where does the inauthenticity stem from? Like, why are people so inauthentic with the content they create? Is it just because they want to go viral and that's all they care about?
I think it stems back to when the algorithms kind of favored inauthenticity in a way, where like creators, like I have a lot of friends who are very successful that made content directed at a younger demographic. So you'd watch their content as their friend, as an adult, and I can't watch it. Like I don't have people to name, but there's other creators I don't know who would do that for a while. But like, and that's one thing to target a kid demo. I'm just kind of relating it because it is inauthentic.
It's an example,
sense,
yeah.
Right? Like, say someone who's 20 years old making content for 12-year-olds, that 20-year-old doesn't act that way in real life at all. They just did it because it got views and it generated good income, good CPM.
100%.
So going all the way back to when YouTube was starting to pop off, I guess when vlogging was popping off, people just tended to be more inauthentic because, like, if you were like, I like travel, right?
Yep.
But doing videos with slime did well, you were going to do the videos with slime.
1,000,000%.
But if you started doing travel back then, your growth would be way slower. But now you're probably stuck doing slime videos that are getting 5, 10K views.
And travel would have benefited you more now.
100%.
Yeah, 1,000,000%. And you see that. Because they'd be like Rick in the travel niche.
100%.
Where they'd have, 70%, 80% of their their subscribers would be there, and they would want to figure out, whatever that travel channel had to offer, like they would be loyal to there, right? And you see that all the time, So, dude, I think the pranks and the vlogging and all of that, I've always been so intrigued by all that because I've never really, I feel like the fad is so like in and out with all of that, and a lot of the other niches, it's fairly consistent, like
100%.
Because I even thought about doing but then TikTok came along. And now I don't know what to think, because like you look at TikTok, bro, and it's like, dude, TikTok's honestly kind of nuts. Like, what do you think about TikTok, like as a whole? It's insane. Yeah, like it's ridiculous.
I think where TikTok's gone now is it's being used as a funnel. So it's like if you take someone like myself, right, and now like I said, I'm doing a full rebrand, authentic, cars, travel, coffee, maybe some food, depends on whatever I like to do. Yeah, because it's my channel. I'll do that. But my main the thing that I find myself the most valuable in the entertainment space is like comedy. Like I just find myself, like I think I'm a funny person on camera. That's what I have done my whole life. So, and that's entertainment. And so what I can do then, if I'm going to do, because I can't be, there's only, now that I'm incorporating everything, I can't, my channel can't just be a meme. Sure. You know what I mean? Like if I'm going to do car stuff, I'm going to do coffee stuff, I have to be, and me being comedic is also a little inauthentic. I'm funny in person, but I don't play that character in person.
Got it.
And so for me, it's like I use TikTok, I'm like, all right, if I want people to be entertained, I'm going to be as funny and entertaining as possible on TikTok, but I don't need to be authentic essentially in the sense of coffee, cars, whatever. And then funnel those followers and spread them out to everything else. And that's what people are doing.
That's what people are doing, yeah.
TikTok is just a marketing tool.
It is,
for all the platforms that matter.
100%, because the CPM, you're not going to get rich on TikTok in terms of ad revenue, right?
Brand deals, maybe.
But you've got to be 1 in a million to do that at this point, right? Like, I mean, there's people that do it. Don't get me wrong, but I mean, it's not everybody's going to do that because getting a viral video on TikTok is actually not that hard.
It's so easy.
It's really easy. So it's like, like at the end of the day, like what separates you from anybody else, on TikTok? Like, I mean, is it like how does it? Because like I have videos on TikTok with like over 1 million, like 2 million views, and they're like stupid, like financial, like ATM videos or whatever. Yeah. Like,
I think it depends on the niche. Like TikTok's got different niches. Like you've got the pretty boy heartthrob, pretty girl. Yep. I mean, the pretty girl niche is stupid. On TikTok especially, you just got to be pretty. Yep. You're killing it.
People
are gonna come after me. That's sexist, but
no, it's honestly, true. It's the truth, bro. It really is. Yeah,
and that's great for a lot of women out there. Yeah, if you're a pretty girl, social media, do what you want, go do it. But I also think there's a niche of value, and I think that's where business comes in. If you can bring value on TikTok, people are gonna eat that stuff up. Yeah, and I think that's a whole niche that will blow your feet up. I do. You follow Gary Vee, you follow just big podcasters, big life coaches. That's what your feed's gonna end up being.
100%.
And so I think it depends on what niche you're on in TikTok. But I do think like, who's that guy that does those crazy like VFX videos? He's like a YouTuber.
VFX videos.
He'll have like a painting. He'll be drawing on the painting and the painting. Zack King. So Zack King got asked recently. I thought this was interesting. What platform is the most valuable or something? Something like that. And he said it's YouTube. And you should use TikTok to funnel to YouTube. Because
brilliant, yeah.
The thing with TikTok is, and I've always thought this is my one gripe with TikTok, is it's not here to stay. No. And I don't think it's not the platform. The platform it's A-list now. No one's going to compete with it. It's the only one doing real short form anymore. Yep. So it's going to stay. I just don't think the careers built on TikTok are here to stay unless you can convert them elsewhere that provide more longevity.
100%, yeah. Well, just think, I always tell people, bro, I by the way, I love what Zack King said. Like, so I've always told people, I said, listen, like, just think about it from a macro point of view, right? Like, long term, you know, what do I want? If my TV, if I'm living in wherever I'm living, and everybody's got a 82-inch freaking flat screen TV, 5K, right?
Yep.
Like, I want to be able to AirPlay from my phone to my TV, horizontal, long-form content, right?
Like a movie.
Like a movie.
Correct.
And no other platform can do that but YouTube.
Yep.
Right? YouTube is the only platform I can take my phone with a click of a button, boom, my horizontal, half-an-hour-long videos right there. It's in freaking 4K,
Yep.
you know, and I can lay in my bed and watch it like Netflix.
They don't value convenience like all the other platforms.
Yep.
And that's where the other platforms benefit.
100%.
It's on your phone. They're like, how can we get on the phones? Because we spend most of our time on our phones. But YouTube, like you said, like you look at the traditional TV industry, like Spider-Man just comes out today while we're filming this. I think the views for the trailer, were the biggest trailer in the world, like 250 million views in a day.
100%.
So traditional TV, high production stuff is never leaving.
Nope.
And so that's always like where people go to when they're not on their phone.
Yep.
So you can either target either or, but I think the attention span on phone is so short.
It is.
That you could be short-lived. If you can stay on the like actors, YouTube, that stuff's more, the attention span doesn't really go away.
Dude, no, it doesn't go away at all.
Look how relevant some of these actors, Meryl Streep, she's been relevant for years.
Right.
That, I don't know how the fuck I just thought of Meryl Streep.
Out of all people.
But
any of them, bro. Look at The Rock. Look at anybody.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like they're massive. You know, they can go in any movie, any Netflix show, anything. Like and
they will be for the next 10, 20 years.
100%.
And then you look at TikTok, notice like one big thing with TikTok is like dancing.
Yep.
First of all, I don't know how the fuck dancing got so like when did people enjoy watching people dance and sing songs? I don't know, but you can tell it's going away already.
Yep.
And I rarely see dancing on my feed. Obviously, that's me. I'm sure people who follow the D'Amelio, the Addison Rae, like they're seeing more of it. But still, it's definitely dying.
Yeah.
And so I always wondered, I'm like, that will not. There's a cap on that for 100%. Sure.
Yeah.
That no way you're gonna TikTok dance for 10 years.
I couldn't agree more.
And so I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think that's great. I can't dance. I wish I could TikTok dance. I'm sure you do too.
Yeah, I do, but I can't.
And so I'm not devaluing that. I'm just saying there's no longevity there.
No.
You can't build a career. And also something I say that's definitely controversial. I've said it before. You wonder how much. How content these people are doing that.
100%.
Like, are you waking up in the morning and saying, because money only brings happiness relative to how content and proud you are of how you made it.
Love that.
Yep. Right? And that's why I always tell people, I'm like, bro, you can take all these shortcuts in life. And hey, the things money bring don't bring shit. You know that.
100%.
It's really not going to bring shit.
Nope.
But there's definitely going to be a lot more value in money and the things that money brings if you made it in an honest way. And again, there's so many different aspects I could be bringing down, like the adult industry, stuff like that. I'm not saying that. And a lot of those people are proud of that. And that's fine. But you just got to be careful of how you make your money.
I love that, bro.
And that's true.
It's 1,000,000% true. Money won't fulfill you in life, right?
100%.
You know, and I tell people that all the time. I say, listen, money will solve problems. There's a lot of things you could do with money. Don't get me wrong. It's definitely up there with oxygen and the importance of life, right? But it won't. The main things that are gonna fulfill you, like when you lay your head on your pillow at night and you genuinely like are either like joy, you have joy or no joy, you're happy or not happy, you're fulfilled or not fulfilled. Those like final couple things aren't gonna have anything to do with money.
Not at all.
Right? Because I've driven down the road in a Lamborghini depressed before.
100%.
Personally, you know, I've lived in a penthouse depressed. I've traveled the world depressed, right? And so, you know, I've made millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars and had no purpose in life. Right, personally, like I speak from personal experience, and I've seen a lot of people do the same thing. I'm friends with people that have a ton of money, right, that aren't happy. You know, they're not married, they don't have kids, they don't have anybody to hang out with. Dude, I see people that spend the first half of their life chasing money, destroying their health, to spend the second half of their life spending all of their money to regain their health back.
100%.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And what a paradox that is.
Yeah.
Right? And so it's like, you know, I think people need to understand what you just said, because that's important, bro.
Well, I think for starters, I know you consume this content. Every motivational speaker, anyone in that life coaching thing will say their richest friends are their most unhappy friends.
100%.
And then going to that, I think this is something I've learned in my life. I think when people are, whoever's behind the screen here, they're going to listen to this. And they're going to say, when we just talked about that, they're going to say, I've heard that before. I've heard that a million times. But they're full of shit.
100%.
Like, they have the money, so they're just saying that.
Yeah, you don't believe it. Yeah.
But when you're in the position, then you have it, it's the same.
100%.
So I think something important that people need to do is listen, not to the content essentially, but people in their lives, right? Like, I knew a lot of people that were successful. I was very well connected before I'd made any money.
Yep.
They all would say, the shit cars and the houses don't bring you shit, but I'm a car kid.
Right.
I'm like, nah, It will for me,
Yep.
because my car, get it? They're right. It takes a certain amount of times for you you shouldn't have to experience it to listen to these people.
Yep.
But I'm sure you went through the same thing.
Yep.
And then once you get to a point in your life, you realize they were all right.
100%.
So start listening. If you're in the position where you think that people are bullshitting you, they're not.
No.
They've just gone through the doors that you're going to walk through, and they're trying to help you not walk through them.
100%. Yeah. And it's unfortunate that human beings learn the way that they do, right? You get, your parents tell you the stove's hot, and you touch it anyways, right? You'll never do it again after you do it, but you don't believe them. I didn't believe them. My parents like, hey, don't touch that. It's hot. I'm like, well, I'm going to touch it and find out, right? and then you're like, oh, wow, they weren't kidding. It's the same concept. And as human beings, unfortunately, we have a very tough time learning through other people. And we, for whatever crazy reason, we think that we have to go experience it ourselves and learn ourselves and go through it ourselves. And dude, it's really a catch-22, man.
Yep.
Because it's like if you could just figure out a way to find people in life that have what you want and actually listen to what they're saying to do and not to do, dude, you could save a lot of time.
100%. And I think we didn't make it clear. I know I did mention the internet, and we're saying it here. You definitely, if it's on the internet and it wasn't face to face, you need to filter through it. You need to be conscious that not everything you hear is true, and not actually a majority of shit's not true.
Yep.
But I'm talking more so, I think this is still valuable to people, and people, especially since we're consciously talking about it from a third person perspective, but people in their lives need to talk to people and listen to those people.
Agreed. And in particular, I think people that have what you want in a particular area.
100%.
So I always tell people, I'm like, look, there's these different areas of life, right? You have financial, spiritual, mental, physical, emotional, whatever, right?
Yep.
Relational. And so if I want to learn how to be married, right, really well and have a 30-year marriage, I just because a guy has $1 billion doesn't mean that I'm going to go to him for relationship advice. If he's divorced, I'm not going to go to him for relationship. Now, he's an extremely intelligent dude when it comes to money, clearly. Yep. So I'm going to go to him for money advice, not relationship advice, right? And the same is true in every area. If I'm going to go, I know dudes that have a ton of money, they're out of shape, right? Yep. If I want to learn how to have a six-pack.
You don't go to them.
No, I don't go to them. I go to somebody that has a six-pack. It doesn't matter how much money they have. All I want is a six-pack in that moment. So I don't care if they're dead broke. If they got a six-pack, I'm going to listen to them, right?
Yep.
And I think so in life, you got to look at people that have what you want in that particular area and take advice from them in that particular area. I think people take advice from their parents, their siblings, their brother, their aunt, their uncle, and it's like, do they have what you want, or are you just listening to them because 100%. You love them and they love you, and it's all fine and dandy, but it's like, you could still love them and respect them and tell them respectfully that that they don't have what you want, and therefore I can't listen to you in that area.
100%.
In my humble opinion, right? Like my grandparents are the most amazing people on the face of the planet, but they don't have the type of life that I want financially. So I'm going to go, they have an incredible marriage. They've been married for 45 years.
Yeah.
I'm going to like, Grandpa, tell me how to be married for 45 years, right?
And they're older, they're wiser, 100%. So they have wisdom in life.
Exactly.
But why would you take advice financially?
100%, right? And the same applies in every area.
And I don't think it's sourcing it, right? You don't need to be disrespectful and say that your grandparents don't know shit about making money.
Not at all.
But it's and I'm not saying your grandparents, but when people in that position impose advice on that, don't take it.
Exactly.
Why would you take it?
And that's what I'm talking about, right? Because it's, and honestly, they have good intentions, and I always tell people that.
100%.
I'm like, people that give you advice have good intentions. The issue is, so they're actually an incredible human being by even trying to give you advice, because they clearly have good intentions, but they don't have the knowledge or wisdom to back it up.
Yep.
So they're giving you kind of just this blind advice of like, do this, don't do this, do that, don't do that. And you just, again, like you said, filter through it, right?
Yeah.
Filter through it, whether it's online or offline, I think you got to filter through it. Yeah, so 100%, bro. I think that like that's just at the end of the day, like people really got to be careful who they take advice from, what type of content they watch, what they consume, like the whole 9 yards. It's just important, man. I had a team meeting the other day. I said, hey, what you input is really important. Like you got to be careful. Like if you put 87 octane in a Lamborghini, it ain't gonna run that good.
100%.
Right? And if you go eat In-N-Out burger every day, your body ain't gonna run that good.
No.
And so if you consume CNN every day and you know what I mean? Like you're not gonna operate that good.
No.
You're just not, right? It's if you fill your body with your mind with negativity every day, you're not gonna operate that good.
100%.
Be careful what you consume, right?
Yeah.
And so, dude, I absolutely love that, man. So so you're doing like more car content, coffee, like all this kind of stuff, right? Have you seen, you follow like the Stradman, obviously?
Of course.
What when you look at a dude like that, I always found it interesting. I felt like his content was so authentic, but the quality is not like anything special, right? Like at the end of the day, he's just like vlogging pretty
100%.
much the majority of the time, but he gets like views, bro.
He's one of the biggest, one of the most profitable. I mean, look at the dude's car collection, the house he's building.
Insanity.
He's doing really well.
So do you think that was just as a result of him being so gosh dang authentic? I started following the Stradman, by the way, when he got his first Gallardo and slept in his first Gallardo in the Walmart parking lot.
Yeah.
Dude, the Stradman, he had maybe 10,000 subscribers on YouTube when I initially subscribed to him.
So I don't know him that well. I met him, I had like canes with him years ago when he wasn't that big. He was more of this car kid. Like, I think we were bigger than him at the time. So it was like sitting next to him was just like, whatever. But looking back on it now, and I have a lot of people that work very closely with him. I don't know him personally much. I hear he's the same person.
Yeah, like, that's awesome.
And I think because he built his career that way, and like you said, that is why, by the way. It is the authenticity, and also, like, you look back to me and my brother's career, like when my channel used to be us, I think one of the big things that helped us is that sense of like a high. We were so high on the content and so grateful almost and stoked that was a part of our growth. And I think in the car world, like, you look back, like, a reason I've sold a lot of my cars and gone backwards because I kind of started getting numb. I think James has kind of like stayed a car kid.
Yeah.
Like, he could be driving in his $300,000, $400,000 Murcielago, see a Huracan that he has an Aventador on the road, and see a Huracan, be like, whoa, look, a Huracan.
Yeah.
And that, I think, is authentic on camera. People can see that. People can see he's not a guy that turns on the camera, acts like he likes cars and turns it off. And I think a lot of people in the car space are numb. Not in a bad way, right? Like, I think when you get to a point where you're numb from cars, you'll always enjoy driving. That's the one thing I kind of learned is when I was in a point where I was numb, and again, I haven't had crazy cars. I'm not sitting here, and I've stretched myself to purchase those cars as investments. I'm not just balling out and fucking buying cars. But I've still experienced it. I went too quick, in my opinion, and the only thing I could pull joy out of was driving them.
100%.
And I still didn't like that was it. I'd be driving the car, I'd park it, I'd look at it and feel nothing. But I was driving it was fun.
100%.
But you look at someone like James, definitely got off tangent there, but like, he enjoys everything. And he's stoked, and it comes off on camera. And he stayed authentic, and he's 100%. The same kid.
Yeah, he really is, and he's humble. Honestly.
I'm sure he's happy. I'm sure he wakes up every day and he's fucking stoked.
He's exactly how he looks on camera.
Yeah,
because he's genuinely fired up on camera. Like, his energy's out of this world. You know, he's actually a really cool dude. I've followed him for a long time. I don't watch a bunch of his stuff anymore.
Yeah,
I just don't have the time to watch everybody's stuff. You know, but you know, he's a really cool dude, and I'm a car guy, so I can relate to you. Like, I really enjoy. I haven't had nearly the cars like a dude like that's had on any level, but like. But I drive a Urus right now, you know. I used to have a Huracan. I used to have an Audi R8. I used to have, you know, I've driven a bunch of cool cars, and but 100% I can agree, dude. I tell people, I'm like, I literally moved so I could drive to work because I like driving to work. Because I lived at the Optima, and my office is at the Optima.
So you wouldn't drive?
I wouldn't drive, and I hated it.
Yeah.
People are like, people are like, dude, that's the good life. Like, non-car people were like, you're living the life. Like, elevator ride to work. I was like, I hate it.
Yeah.
I would leave in the middle of the day, and I would get in my car, and I would just drive around the block and come back. And people are like, what are you doing? I just put miles in my car, like, for the heck of it. Because I turn on music. Like, to me, driving is therapy.
I love it.
Right? So I'll blast music all by myself. I'm singing, I'm doing my thing, and I'm just, like, enjoying it, bro. I got, whether I'm paddle shifting or whatever I'm doing, it's just the thrill of, and car guys can relate, right? 100%. Like, anybody that really feels that, like, knows what we're talking about, you know? But I'm the same way, dude. I've been at my life before where I'll park the car, and it's just like, man, like, it's nothing special, bro. Like, it's just a piece of equipment. I refer to them as like it's a piece of equipment.
They're
like,
toys.
It's a toy,
they
bro.
really are toys.
Yeah, and it's like, it's meant to, like, get joy from, but not happiness.
100%.
Right? So it's like, hey, I can get joy from that toy or that piece of equipment, but it ain't gonna make me happy.
I think that's huge. Happiness and joy is a big difference.
Yeah, 100%.
Joy is more temporary. Happiness is something you do every day. Let's switch it up a little. Let's ask you, very successful person, running a business. I'm sure you're working long hours. How do you, and again, I don't know, we don't know each other that well. It's been a while since I've seen you. So, like, A, how happy are you in general with life? And if you are really happy, what are things that you implement in your day to kind of separate work and stress and meditation, church, stuff like that we were talking about? Like, how's that work for you?
Love the question, bro, and I'll ask you the same thing in a minute. You know, I think on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm probably like an 8 or 9 on a happiness level, and I'm not just saying that, right? Like, I really genuinely mean that at the bottom of my heart. Now, there are days where, like, I don't want to get out of bed, right? Like, there are days where I don't want to do this, or I don't want to be on camera, or I don't want to go do a sales call, or I don't want to do a training, or whatever it might be. And but I think for me, bro, like, I've learned that whenever I'm typically not happy, I'm like, my mindset in that moment is messed up, and like, there's something going on here that is like, and it might be conscious or subconscious, right? Where I'm either overthinking something or I'm kind of just getting in my own way, whatever it might be. And typically I'm in a non-action state of being physically. Okay. Right? So like, and Tony Robbins talks about it, sounds crazy, but like, dude, if I'm ever like really sad or upset or whatever, I'm typically lying down on my bed. I'm sitting down. I'm sitting at a computer. I'm in some low frequency state of being. True. And so I'll get up and move, bro. Like Tony Robbins will jump on a little trampoline. Dude, if you are ever in a place where you're feeling sad or this or that or the other thing, go try to jump on a freaking trampoline or do a sprint or do something like really energetic and like a spurt, like real quick, and try to feel sad while you do that. It's literally impossible. You can't do it.
Yeah.
Like you can't jump on a trampoline
and
I think
the
sad.
Perspective changes. Like I always say, the big thing that helps me, and again, I've really, the past 2 years of focus, like it's rare that I'm unhappy. Yeah. I'm a pretty fucking happy guy. But going on a run, like you said, and it's not even that. You could be sad on your run.
Sure.
But that run is being productive towards that.
100%.
You're going to, because you're doing something that is progressing your life and moving forward, you're going to rework that sadness into something good.
Yeah. I think people's expectation of happiness is messed up too. Like, so to your point, I don't think happiness is real, right? So I think that there's moments of joy. And Tony Robbins talks about this, right? So Tony Robbins says, look in life, you're going to have moments of joy and you're going to have moments of other types of feelings, right? Everything's a feeling. We're emotional beings, right? So we, on average, a human being has like, I think 75,000 thoughts in a day, right? Well, a thought basically comes from or creates a type of feeling, right?
Yeah.
Nobody can keep track of all their thoughts. So when people tell you like learn how to manage your thoughts, it's really impossible to do because you have too many in a day. What you can do is you can manage your feeling and then trace back what thought caused what feeling, right?
Correct.
Because you only have a handful of feelings. There's 7 or 8 or 9 total like feelings.
Different feelings, right? And a million thoughts. So a certain section of different 100%. Thoughts. Feelings, yeah.
So if I feel a certain type of way, then I can say, well, what thought caused this feeling? And then I can start to reverse engineer that. And I can start to replace those thoughts with different thoughts that'll cause a different type of feeling, right? But again, it's all temporary. You said it best. So like, I think the unrealistic expectation of I need to be happy all the time is automatically setting people up for failure, right? I believe that, having the right expectation in life of I'm not going to be happy all the time. I'm going to have bad days. I'm going to get injured. I'm going to break my wrist. I'm going to go to the hospital. Like, this is planet Earth. Right, like
100%.
We're all sinners. Like no matter how you look at it, right? Like whether it's like faith or non-faith, like we all make mistakes. We're all sinners. We all screw stuff up. And so it's like nobody can be happy all the time. It's not possible.
100%.
Social media screws that up, I think, because again, back to the inauthenticity. Nobody typically shows anything other than when they're at their happiest moment.
It's terrible.
That's why they call it the highlight reel, right?
Yep.
So of course, naturally, you have 90%. I heard a guy say one time, Austin, in on planet Earth, every 1 out of 10 people create content and 9 out of 10 consume content.
Correct.
Right, and so all the consumers of content are looking at the creators of content, thinking that they're happy all the time.
It's a terrible system.
It's a horrible system, right? And this has been going on forever since the news and the first television, right?
Since celebrities.
100%, And so it's like, it's this unrealistic expectation, man. I think people just need to go into life with a different attitude of, if I could have joy 70% of the day or 80% of the day, dude, that's a good day. That's a great day, in my humble opinion, right? And I think the other thing too, I'll add real quick, is like discipline. Right? So like, discipline is the idea that I'm going to do what I said I was going to do even when I don't feel like doing it.
Correct.
Even when I don't feel like I felt when I initially committed to, because when you initially commit to anything, it feels great, right? Like on January 1st, you're like, I'm going to go to the gym you're in a good state of being, right? You feel good, that feels good. On the 15th of January, you don't feel so good, right?
Yeah.
And so, but discipline is saying on the 15th of January, I'm going to do what I said I was going to do, although I don't feel like doing it.
And I actually have something that pertains to that. But what I will say first, pertaining to what you said, is I think what it is trying to figure out how to make more of your thoughts bring that happiness and that joy rather than the negativity. So and that's what being happy is I think in your day, if more of your thoughts bring good feeling than your bad thoughts, then you're net positive.
That's powerful.
Right? And so I think social media instills, it's fighting you, right? So if you want to have these positive thoughts and you're a consumer of social media, you're being fed all these negative thoughts all day. Yeah. So it's almost like fighting for a net negative day because you stared at all these people who are making all this money.
That's powerful.
Yeah.
Bro. Like that's like good.
100%.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. And like you said, because someone who's happy is still experiencing negative thoughts.
Yep.
So at the end of the day, you could be net positive. You're a happy person. You weren't just fucking
100%
going through a tulip farm all day. You know
100%.
what I mean? And then something else I thought that I do want to talk about. I've been listening to I consume so much podcast content. That's like what makes me happy. And I'm like in that state of my life where I want to learn everything.
Yeah.
Like about the brain.
That's dope.
So I've been listening to a lot of people who are like study the brain and do tests on how the brain works and thinking and stuff. One of the craziest things I found out recently, I want to mention the guy's name, but I forget. But he was talking about how dopamine, which is essentially what makes us happy, is released in the process towards something positive, not in achieving it.
Wow.
So like what you just said is, say you set your goal, it's a new year, you want to do all these things. Dopamine's released when you set the goal, because now you've started the first step of the process towards your goal. Now a normal person's going to think, I'm going to be sad as fuck until I reach my goal.
Wow.
In reality, scientifically speaking, in your brain, that's not how it works.
That's not true.
And let's say you do fail on the 15th day, any day where you didn't want to do it and you persevered through it. So what's the word you were saying? Discipline.
Yeah.
When you discipline yourself, say you wake up in the morning and you don't want to run. And you're like, fuck it, I'm going to run.
Yep.
That right there, where you chose to go on the run, that's where dopamine was released.
Instantly.
That's where you're happy.
In the decision.
You think you're like, I don't want to go on a run. That's going to hurt. Hence, I'm going to be unhappy.
Yep.
Not true.
Yep.
You will be happy. The dopamine, where you're getting happiness from, I feel like this is what people do. They black out everything between where they're starting and what they want. They black all that out. Then they get there, and there's no dopamine released. So they experience, it's not that they didn't experience dopamine, it's that they didn't notice it, they didn't pay attention to it. Then they got to where they thought it was all going to come and they got none of it.
Right.
Whereas essentially...
Now they're really unhappy.
Exactly. And then another crazy thing I learned is you can actually rework this, is once you can consciously realize where the dopamine's being released, you can use it effectively. So you can say, you're sitting there, you're like, I don't want to do this. And you're like, how do I get myself to do this? Well, fucking do it.
Right.
And then now you at least know once you do it, that's where the happiness lies.
Yeah, I love that.
And so you can use, if you want to be happy and you're unhappy, do the things you don't want to do that you know are good for you.
I love that, bro.
And that'll make you happy.
Yeah, I love that. It really is just making these decisions, bro.
Yeah.
Like, it's why you always hear, like, these cliche sayings, like, the hunt's better than the kill, or, like, enjoy the journey. The journey's the best part.
Want is greater than have tattooed on me, because it's the truest thing in the world.
It's 100% the truth, bro. Everybody wants the end result, when in reality, what they don't understand is the end result in and of itself will immediately change the second you get there. It's like,
it lasts 10 seconds.
Everybody's heard the Matthew McConaughey spiel, right? Where he's talking about, the idea that his idol, or the person that he's trying to achieve or become, is him in 10 years. But then he makes this very distinct comment. He says, but then in 10 years, it's still me in 10 years.
Exactly. It never satisfies
He'll never satisfy. Which, by default, he's saying that the journey is the best part of life, and the hunt is essentially better than the kill, and the kill doesn't even exist.
Yep. And I think that goes back to what we were talking about earlier. People just listen to that, I swear to God, don't believe you.
It goes right over their head.
They just think it's bullshit because they're like, well, I'm in that position right now.
But we're in the position.
Exactly.
So it's all relative, right? Yep. So that's where I would like, the people that are listening and watching, because, okay, think about it like this. How come we're able to look at dudes like that are way more successful than we are and believe them, but they can't believe us where they're at, because everything's relative, right?
100%.
So it's like, that's where it's interesting, because it's like at some point in the journey, it almost starts to dawn on you that they were right, because we're not at the end result. We never will be.
Oh, I'm the beginning.
The very beginning. Yeah. I'm at the very beginning,
yeah.
right? But I know for a fact that the dudes that are at where I want to be at still think that they have another level to go
100%.
And another level to go and another level to go.
People think success correlates to happiness, and it just doesn't. And that's the thing is, I genuinely think the scale of happiness, I think it's like what's it called? A logarithmic curve on both sides, right? So if you're dead broke and you're in a really bad situation, yeah, life's not good, obviously. And it's going to be really hard to have the mentality, well, it's all up from here.
Sure.
But I think, I genuinely think, and I've never asked, I don't think I've ever met a billionaire in my life, which is a weird thing. I know a lot of successful people, but not billions. Maybe I've met a billionaire, but I don't know they're a billionaire.
Yeah.
Now, I'd be curious to ask a billionaire. I think that curve, like I said, starts going bad again at a certain point. I think you get to a certain point where money now no longer, you can buy anything on earth.
Yep.
I mean, I'd say when you have $1 billion, what is something you
probably
can't buy?
Even before that, honestly.
You could buy a Navy ship tanker that's 1,000 feet long.
I would say even before that, because billionaires don't pay cash for anything anyways. It's all leveraged money.
You can finance anything on earth.
So I think at $250 million, you're basically, there's nothing past that.
I bet you when you're in that position, you actually start to lose goals.
Yep.
And you envy the old self where you had goals.
1,000,000%.
Because we both know, if we've tested it out, that having things doesn't bring joy. You probably get to a point now where you don't have the joy from having things, and then you also are struggling to have the joy from wanting things. So what do you want?
Right. Why did Elon Musk come out a year ago and say he was selling all of his real estate and becoming a minimalist?
100%. And he said before he's not happy.
100%.
That clip of him saying You don't want this life, like you,
dude.
That's sad.
I listen to it all the time.
Yeah.
He's like, you don't want to be me.
You don't.
He's like literally telling people like, don't become who I am.
And he's the rich, $200 billion. I'm sure he'll be a trillionaire in the next 5 years.
Yep.
Saying on camera, you can hear the pain in his voice.
You can.
You don't want, like, I don't. He said my brain is not healthy or
yeah,
something.
he literally verbatim. My brain is like overworked, not healthy. Like it's not good. It's not positive, right?
Just sad.
And it is sad, and it's like, you know, and I think, bro, like literally, he came out and said, I'm selling all my real estate, I'm becoming a minimalist, you know. Bro, I've been there already in my life. Like, dude, I'm at a point right now where I'm like, I don't want anything. I tell my team every day, I'm like, there's a part of me, bro, that wants to sell everything. Like, I need to obviously have an office and stuff for like, you know, and I'm not like, but I'm just, it's the concept of like, I know I'm 100% certain now that like none of the crap that I own, dude, all it does is add stress. It does is add stress. I have multiple cars. I'm like, where do I leave my wallet? Where are my sunglasses?
Because that like, loan and that, what's the word I'm looking for? When you have a loan, you are, that obligation, outweighs the enjoyment of it 100%. Itself. Usually, depending.
9 times out of 10, I think. And I think obligations at any scale, right? So I think like, you know, having 3 pairs of sunglasses that I wear, and I don't know where any of them are because I have 2 cars and I live here and there and here, and I'm just simply trying to put on my sunglasses so I can go to work, and I don't know where they are. It's these little bitty things that, like, on one hand, somebody's like, oh, first world problems, bro, like, you know, like, good for you.
Which it is.
100%. But dude, on the other hand, it's like, actually, it's like, I would prefer, like, sometimes, bro, to walk out of a minimalist apartment, wear a V-neck every day, you know, get in my car where all my stuff's right there, and live a simple life, right? Where I'm not worried about money, so it's like, you know, you make money, but like, who needs all the crap? Who needs all the, I mean, I don't know. You just, and again, it's a catch-22, right? Because I'm a car guy and blah, blah, blah. But at the end of the day, like, I think dude, it's a fine line, bro. It's a real fine line. And I don't know that there's a right or wrong answer to it. I think that we go through seasons of life. 100%. And I think in every season, you know, you're going to look at things a little bit differently. And I've already been there in my life where I've like, you know, in one season, dude, I had a Prius like a year or two ago. And I literally sold all my cars and drove a Prius for like a year. And I loved it. Dude, I give my girlfriend a hard time. I'm like, I'm going to go back to a Prius, you know, and she's like, and I'm like, we're going to valet the Prius. Like, you know what I mean? And like a part of me is kidding and a part of me is like not kidding. Like, you know?
Dude, what I've heard, sorry to cut you off, what I've heard people say that pertains to me too, from like an egotistical standpoint, and this is so fucked up, because I'm a very like I've trained myself to not care what people think. But I catch myself at times doing different things, from fucking going on walking my dog in the morning, like I'll care what I look like. I'm like, fuck do I care what I look like? Who's looking at me? A. B. Why? Why do I care? That's not my best I look, so why do I care? A. All the way to, like I've heard people say, I don't know if it was Gary Vee saying he does this. Oh no, it was, I watch his podcast every day and I forget his fucking name. He's like the Ed Milet.
Ed Milet's a gangster.
So I think Ed Milet said this, is he made all this money and he dropped his ego and he rented a shitty car one time and he didn't like that he was being seen in it. Bro, I've been there. Like if I drove a Prius tomorrow and I hate this about myself, and like, but I'm acknowledging it, so I would like to drive a Prius so that I'd say, fuck it, that's stupid. You have these nice cars. You're seeing a Lamborghini every day. But you not that you I don't think when you own a Lamborghini, you really care what people look like in a Lamborghini. I think when you don't own one, you're like, people are going to look at me cool, but when you own one, you don't care. But I think putting you in like an 04 Honda Accord, there's a piece of our ego that's still left, and I can't speak for you, I can speak for me, that I would just be like, it's not that I'm driving the Accord, it's not the Accord's shit to drive, it's not that it's uncomfortable, it's not that it's shit. It could be a brand new fucking 06 Honda Accord, but I'd be like, people think I'm poor. That's so fucking bad.
Here's where I think my mind's, dude, and I agree 1,000,000%. I think here's where it shifted for me. When I had the option is when I didn't give a shit. And it's almost, I'll take it a step further. There's a day and a time where I actually had a Lamborghini and a Prius and a handful of cars all at the same time, simultaneously, right? When I knew subconsciously that my Lamborghini was sitting in my driveway,
but you were in the Prius?
I drove the Prius.
I like that.
It was the weirdest thing, because subconsciously it was like, now I'm driving down the road. Here was my thought process, and I'm just being really vulnerable. And it was a part of this is probably a little bit messed up in a weird way, but I would drive down the road in my Prius, and I would think to myself, I'm like, I wonder if all these son of a guns know that I have a Lamborghini.
They
sitting
definitely
at home,
don't. No,
right? But it was like this weird like game that I would play in my head, right? Where I would drive, and I would just like, I got like this weird fulfillment out of like driving a crap car, knowing that I had a dope car at home.
100%.
Right? And so, dude, I did it the other day, bro. I took my Lambo in because my bumper's all jacked up, right? On the back of it. it, and somebody like rolled into me at a stop sign, so I took it in, and my buddy at Luxury Auto Collection, if you know them, they're like LAC.
Yeah, of course.
They're right across. I'm good friends with all of them. I was like, yo, you got a car I can borrow? And they didn't have anything, so he's like, dude, he's like, I'll give you a Honda. Like, I was like, all right, whatever. Like, I have Escalade at home, but I didn't want to Uber back home, and it's an old Escalade anyways, and so I was like, sure, just give me the Honda. And I was driving the Honda, and me and my girlfriend went to lunch, and I valeted the Honda. As I'm pulling into valet at Kierland, there's 3 Urises sitting in valet, right? Yeah. And dude, it was the funniest thing. I get out of the car. I made a whole scene out of it, but like I thoroughly enjoyed it. I get out of the car, and I look at the valet dude. I was like, yo, you guys valet Hondas? And he's like, yeah, of course. He's like, well, you know, like, and I was like, but I was being dead serious, like, and he didn't know. And as I was like walking away, I was giving him a hard time and stuff. I was like, yeah. I was like, my Urus is actually in the shop. They gave me this as a loaner. And like, he totally didn't believe me, you know?
Yeah.
And I got this weird fulfillment out of walking away and not having to prove myself to him. Like letting him think it was a joke and that I was just looking like a fool. And I just walked away with a smile on my face.
It's cool.
You know, it's like this weird thing because it didn't matter to me.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you, it took me getting to that point for me to not let it bother me and it not to matter.
100%.
So that is the one thing I will say, like, even me, bro, like my mentor has always told me, the mentor I bought my first Lamborghini from, he would always tell me, he's like, cars like aren't gonna make like blah, blah, blah. And dude, I was the same as the people watching and listening. I really was,
like,
bro.
No, because I like cars more than you.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. I was like, I'm gonna enjoy the car. I was like, the car will actually make me happy, you know, and it didn't.
No, of course not.
But I was that dude where like the stove was hot, I didn't believe it, and I touched it anyways, you know?
Yeah.
And it took me doing it to realize that. You know, which is crazy.
As a guest on a podcast, first of all, thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course.
I love podcasts. I tell everyone all the time, I've been trying to work on my own. It's just investing, but I'll probably do automotive.
Yep, I love that.
Just to be honest, but I love talking about things. But if I have, so anyone who wants me on the podcast, have me on podcast.
Yep, I'll put all this information down below.
Appreciate it. The big thing I want to talk about is where I'm at right now in my life is like, you actually didn't know, like a big life change happened. I moved to Arizona with a girl, split, whatever. Now I'm on my own in a place that's not home. My family's away, and then I like have to build a new family here. Yeah. So the past and then obviously my career is at a big changing point. So like the past 6 months of my life have been the most progressive in a way, but also like the most volatile. And so the cool thing is I've been spending so much time, like I had to learn how to I'm the most outgoing person in the world. I'm an extrovert, so I don't do well without people. So I've had to learn how to be on my own, which is good. I think everyone should be good at being by themselves because anytime you're by yourself, you're unhappy. Every time you're by yourself, you're gonna be unhappy most of the time because you spend a lot of time with yourself. And so I've done that. And then while this is all happening, I've been going through a rebrand, and I'm like right now, and this is why I want to talk about it because we were kind of talking about this. I've made the past 6 months the least amount of money I've made since I was probably 18.
Sure.
I've been the happiest I've ever been the past 6
crazy?
months. And it's for this reason is I've been spending so much time, I started meditating, and I think, I was actually saying this to my mom the other day on the phone, I've always known, like we talked about earlier, that money doesn't bring happiness. And I've always known that the want is greater than the have. So the feeling of wanting to be successful genuinely is better. And I was telling my mom that I think I'm in the final like evolution of that, where right now I'm one person. If you know me, if you're my friend, you know I don't look short term. So how much money I made this year, how much money I made the past 3 years, doesn't matter to me. It doesn't. It's like as long as my money can support my lifestyle, that's all I need. And I'm one of those people, like, I need a certain amount of money to feel like I have like a cushion. But I'm always looking 10 years ahead. And so the past 6 months of my life, I'm in the final stages of realizing that. And because now I know being successful isn't going to make me happier, I'm almost happier now than I think I'll be when I'm successful.
For sure.
So literally, I wake up every day. I've got more gratitude. I'm happier. I'm good at being by myself. I've got a really good family here in Arizona now. I've got my family I see at home all the time. Weather's good here. I'm not melting.
Sure.
And like, I literally wake up every day. And I have more parts of my day now where I take a step back and like just appreciate life, right?
That's awesome.
But bro, I'm just here to like, I want people to understand that like perspective is fucking everything.
Insane, bro. And I want to ask you too, like, you know, when it comes to all that, do you think that now you'll attract? Because here's what I believe.
Yeah.
I believe I've gone, and I'm gonna tie in exactly to what you're saying. I've been through what I believe you're going through right now, probably 3 or 4 times in my life. I'm almost 27, right?
Okay.
And I've been an entrepreneur since I was 9. I started a pool company. You know, and I was making like $3 or $4 grand a month by the time I was 12, right?
Okay.
So and then I built 4 network marketing companies, and I built 9 companies after the age of like 17.
Okay.
Right. So and most of that is I've failed miserably, by the way. So to be very clear, if you're brand new here, I don't say that to impress.
He's like, I wasn't a millionaire by 18,
no.
but
I basically what I'm saying is I've made a bunch of money and lost it several times, right? And what I'm getting at is I've found in my life personally that when I'm putting the least amount of, how do I word this? Anytime I'm like so focused on making money, I make the least amount of money. And anytime I'm grateful and I'm just genuinely wake up and I'm fired up and I'm happy and I love everybody around me and I'm giving, I'm providing value and I'm just going above and beyond in everything I do. I'm talking like, dude, like filling my gas freaking like making my bed in the morning. Like I'm just genuinely like happy and grateful. I make the most amount of money. When I'm not trying as hard intentionally to make the money, it's like opportunity just knocks on my door. When I'm like stressed out of my mind, like, oh my God, I got to find the next opportunity. It's like, it's nowhere to be found. And I think it's so interesting. I would be curious to like talk to you in 6 months from now. Because I have a feeling you're right on the verge of like abundance just knocking on your door.
You're right.
And I can feel it sitting here with you, by the way.
And the crazy part is, if it doesn't come in 6 months, I'll probably be happier.
100%.
Like, I'll be happier the later it comes. It sounds so fucked up.
No, but it's precisely what I'm saying, because when you care the least about that end result happening is precisely when you deserve it the most.
100%.
Right?
And I think what it is you look at people, like we talked about, there's people that spend so much time focusing on their work that they don't focus on their life. So they're unhealthy, they're out of shape, their marriage sucks, they're unhappy. I think what it is, you make more money when you work on yourself than when you work on your work. It's true.
Amazing.
And I think temporarily you will take a pay cut because naturally, like I could be working on my work a lot harder than I am now because a lot of the time allocated to my work, I allocate to myself.
Gotcha.
And as long as I keep myself afloat, I'm going to keep doing that because I'm happy as fuck, and then money's going to come to me accidentally. And so just also, like I said, it's the dopamine that gets released, the dopamine of knowing that in 10, 20 years, I'm going to have everything I need. Like, I just know it's going to happen, so I'm not in a rush for it to happen.
Wow.
That's the thing.
Where did you get that belief? I've got to say, there's a few more things before we wrap up here, because there's a bunch of gold that we got to drop really quick. Because I preach all the time that you have to believe, you have to have faith, you have to believe, right? And I'm not saying necessarily like you got to be religious. I mean, you can be, but I'm just saying you got to have faith. You got to believe in yourself and the future of what you're trying to build and create. You don't have to know the how, you have to know the what, right? And I tell people, it's like getting your car at night and going to Sedona, typing in on your maps, where am I going, blah, blah, blah. She doesn't give you all the directions all at one time. She tells you, hey, go up 100 feet, make a right, and then your headlights, right? They don't shine all the way to the destination either. So the maps and your headlights don't shine to the destination, right? But you know where you're headed right here, and you believe you're going to get there. If you didn't believe you're going to get there, you'd never get in the car.
100%.
If you thought you were going to get in the car and die, you'd never get in the car. So you obviously have the belief you're going to get there. You actually believe it so much you don't even think about it. Right? You don't think about dying.
And you trust the process.
100%. You trust the process. And during that process, it reveals itself, and you eventually get there because you have the belief, right? So, but dude, I've got to say this. I've interviewed a lot of people in my life. I've talked to a lot of people. I've built a lot of things. I don't think I've ever met anybody that can carry a conversation like you at the age you're at, with the articulation and the methodical approach that you have, the different terminologies that you use. I mean, you're very intelligent beyond your age, and you're wise beyond your years. Where in the heck did all that come from?
Dude, I don't know, bro. Like so I'm really close to my brother, and our parents are awesome. Our parents split when we were young. I think a big part, I think it comes from a million things. But me and my brother always ask ourselves, this is so fucked up. Like, I'm super into self-help, and I've always been. And I'll read these books, and I go into this. So there's this book, right? And I'm expecting to get so much out of it. I go into this book from such a humble standpoint. I'm like, I want to be not on par. I guess let's call it off par with everything in the book, so that I learn it all. So I'm not going, I swear to God, I don't go into this book thinking, I fucking know it. I'm on par with everything in this book. I go the opposite, but every time I read one of these books, 80% of the content, like, my brain's already wired. I'm like, yeah, I know that. Like, that's how I think.
That's awesome.
And so I don't know where that came from. I really don't know, because my dad, he's not very successful now. He grew up successful. We got to watch him go successful. We got to watch him lose everything. My mom, she's just content with her life. She doesn't have crazy goals, whatever. So me and my brother just don't fucking know where we got it. And even my brother's a fireman now. Like, he does his thing. Like, I'm like the only one left in the family. My brother has aspirations for sure. But I'm the only one left in the family. I'm like off in this fucking world where tomorrow I can make $0, but I just know I'm gonna be. It's just not a question of how wealthy I'm gonna be. But I think it comes to A, who you surround yourself with, which is huge. I don't need to repeat that.
Yep.
It's everything.
Law of association.
Who I surround myself with, and it's learning. The more you can learn at a young age from failure and from... Actually, fuck everything I said, perspective.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Wow.
Once you master perspective,
Yep.
that's it. People, because you take a 30-year-old, you take a 40-year-old, you take a 7-year-old, some of them haven't learned perspective yet in the right way.
Nothing.
And I think perspective can outweigh wisdom.
Wow. Yeah.
That's huge.
Yep.
But everything
but you
in
only
my
gain
life
perspective from
doing shit.
100%.
But the problem is if you don't have perspective, then you don't collect any of it.
Right.
It gets wasted.
Yep.
And I think people, first of all, thank you for saying that because, and I'm not saying you are the millionth person who said that. It's all perspective.
Yeah.
If there's something you can practice in your life, it's perspective, and it can apply to everything. If you want to be happy, you got to flip your perspective. You want to get along with your girlfriend, boyfriend, you have to put yourself in other people's shoes, put yourself in. I mean, people talk about parallel universes. They don't need to be real universes. You can our brain allows us to create an infinite amount of them.
Yeah.
So you can look at a situation and think an infinite amount of different ways it can go. You can look at a situation where they happened and think of an infinite amount of ways it could have happened.
Yep.
But it's like, I could go on for another hour giving you, I don't even need to think about it. I can just give you ways perspective applies. So the more perspective you have, it fixes everything in life. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And I don't want to go on about it because I'm just going to keep going on.
For sure.
Perspective.
Dude, I think again, I just want to, you really are, I mean it in the bottom of my heart, you're way wise beyond your years, and I've talked to a lot of people. I've talked to 50-year-olds that actually don't have half of the knowledge and wisdom and perspective that you have.
Yeah.
And so it's cool to see, because I preach it all the time. I tell people, I'm like, age actually is completely irrelevant in life.
100%.
I'm like, it literally is life experience, perspective, what you've gone through, trials and tribulations, right? And how many times you failed and all this different stuff. And I'm like, you could do that at 20 years old, you could do it at 80 years old, you could never do it, right? And everybody does it at different. Dude, I know so many people that are mature at 50, immature at 50. Sorry, immature at 50, and they don't have any experience, any life perspective. They're all over the place. They're having a total midlife
100%.
crisis. And then you can take a dude that's 20 years old and a multi-freaking millionaire, and has got actually a bunch of knowledge and wisdom, right? And so I think it's really valuable, really important. And I think that in life you just have to do as much as you can when you're young. I think you said it best.
That's
right?
what I want. Is I grew up. I was talking to someone else too. My filmer just moved in with me. People don't know that yet, so there you go, surprise. Yep. Really good kid, and I was talking to his parents, and he has a huge passion. He's 21. He turns 21 Saturday.
Okay.
What's today? Tomorrow. He's got a huge passion for filmmaking. It's always the kids at a young age that know what they like, grew up trying everything. Their parents let them try everything. So if you're a parent out there, let your kid try as many fucking things as you want. Dude. Because if you shove your kid in football his whole life, you just waste, and he doesn't like football, well, you just wasted 4 years of his life.
Bro.
And when you're our age, you've got to try everything, because that's the people. The people who are 50 in a midlife crisis, they haven't tried shit. So that they have no purpose, they have no direction, they don't know what they want to do, because they don't know what they like.
Wow.
And then also, going back to what you said, I think the big thing is life experience. There's 20-year-olds.
Yeah.
Take Logan Paul.
Yep.
There was a time when he had a conversation with his dad. He said, I've experienced more life than you.
Yep.
It's true.
It is, 100%.
And my parents say all the time, they're like, you've experienced more life than us. My parents are 60.
Yeah.
And it's true. And I don't think it's that it's quantitatively, whatever, we're going to say that's word, more than them. But it's kind of like going through school. Like, you can go through school for 12 years, you didn't learn shit. If you spent 12 years learning other things, you can learn more important things.
For sure.
So I think my experience, living, another thing that I think comes from is living in LA, seeing how that scene works, seeing how my own industry works in the heart of it. Fuck that. Traveling the world, I've seen different cultures, I've seen different places. I've just done a lot of shit at my age. And it's not that I've done more shit than a 60-year-old, because I haven't, but I've seen more important things that will affect me
and in a condensed amount of time.
People. Exactly.
In a condensed amount of time. I want to go back really quick, because I keep trying to wrap it up.
We keep
but I do got to go back really quick, bro, because you said, because everything you just said is gold. But you said in particular, dude, I've been preaching this for a long time. Dude, all my buddies that I grew up with, right, when I was real young, that had parents that were really strict. Bro, I'm being straight up, they're either dead. They're
alcoholics, drug addicts.
They're drug addicts. They're not doing good in life. Bro. And their parents were the most strict. They got grounded if they freaking missed. They got a B on their test.
100%.
Dude, I grew up in my grandparents' garage. They literally let me do anything I want. I got away with murder practically. I made a ton of mistakes growing up. And I'm not gonna sit here and say that my life's perfect. It's definitely not.
But you're ahead of most people your age.
I'm way ahead of most people my age.
And not just financially, right? Because that's what everyone's thinking. Like, you're a douche, you're not. Just maybe mentally, yeah.
Right here, bro.
Yeah.
Screw financially.
Exactly.
Financial. All money is, bro, is a result of.
Whoa,
of
that's
this
not
right
me
here.
interrupting our podcast. Keep going.
But no, dude, I think it's so valuable, bro, because I think there's a lot of like I eventually obviously want to be a dad, right? And I want to raise kids, and like I always said, like I want to, and I think there's a fine line. I probably had a little bit too much freedom in all honesty. At 9 years old, I could just like leave and do whatever I want. But who knows?
Who dictates that, right?
Yeah, exactly. But like I do think, bro, like. Without that experience, man, like with that, you gotta have experience.
Yeah.
You gotta take like the traveling and condense that into as young of an age as you possibly can. And you have to make mistakes. Like these parents don't want to let their kids make mistakes. Like you have to let them make mistakes.
Of course,
you have to.
And because the thing is, the kids are gonna make the mistakes no matter what.
100%.
Why don't you dictate what mistakes or let them dictate the mistakes? Because if you do it.
Yep.
They're going to make worse mistakes on their own.
Guaranteed.
Yep.
And probably for a longer period of time.
Yeah.
They're going to continue to rebel and be rebellious 100%. Because the feeling that they get is that like, they almost feel like they have to go do that.
It's kind of the stove thing, right?
100%.
You tell a kid not to touch stove, you can touch the stove.
Yeah, you want what you can't have. You want what you can't do. You want to do
Especially at that age.
100%.
That's the thing, because you don't have the consciousness. You're like, my parents tell me not to do drugs.
Yep.
Well,
like, I have to try them.
My parents tell me not to do a lot of things that I want to do,
yep.
So I'm going to go do drugs.
100%. Yep, 100%. Yeah, dude, I would way rather like be a parent that's like, you know what? If you're going to go do something, like, let's either do it together or like tell me
mitigate
about it.
the loss here.
Come do it at like our house. Like you and your boys want to go smoke weed. If you're going to do it regardless, I guess come do it in our living room.
It. Yep.
Come do it in our living room.
Yep.
And you know what I mean? Like if it's going to happen regardless, I'd rather it be in my living room than in a freaking park.
100%.
In a bad part of town.
Where there's cops and you're hiding and
like all day, every day, bro. Because like you said, it's going to happen regardless. And dude, I think that's so valuable. And like, again, I'm not a parent. You're not a parent, I don't think. But we are kids.
But
we are kids. So, and I know parents and I know kids. And I've seen this time and time again. And I've been through life just like you, man. I've traveled the world. We've done all kinds of crazy stuff in a very condensed amount of time. And I think that's where we have that experience, that wisdom, that knowledge, at least our age. Obviously, we'll have way more wisdom and knowledge in 20 years from now. But for where we're at right now, we're definitely ahead of where people are at your age and people are at my age.
You ever wonder this? Like, I always see parents when I was old enough to have a good head on my shoulders, but you look at parents, right, and you see these parents doing that to their kids.
Yep.
Like a parent that's like, don't you ever smoke weed, don't you ever touch alcohol, all this shit. You always wonder, where did that parent forget their past?
When they were a kid.
Because my big thing now, and I will progress, and I'm sure you do the same thing, is that I will make sure, I know it. And again, maybe a parent's looking at this like, that's where you went wrong.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure I will reference back and use my
100%.
Perspective as a kid. Maybe that's where parents lack perspective to raise my kids.
100%.
And I see parents, I'm like, dude, you look like you were never a fucking kid.
Yep, 100%.
You gotta parent your kids based on your interactions. And obviously life's different, right? Like our parents are gonna have a hard time parenting us with electronics.
For sure.
And setting rules of content and shit like that because they didn't
deal with it.
But there's a lot of fucking things you dealt with.
There's a lot of things they did deal with, right?
And those are the parents who are the best parents.
100%.
The parents that use that shit.
Yeah.
They're like, bro, I know when I was 14 I was drinking. How am I going to tell you not to drink?
It's relatable. It's relatable, bro. And it's just, at the end of the day, it's part of growing up. I think it's a part of life to some degree, right? Like I think, the amount of people I've talked to that like were forced into like, and we talked about it a little bit before the show, like forced into like church and this, that, and the other thing. Like I interviewed a dude last week and he was, he's a singer. He's like a worship leader at Impact Church, actually. Really cool dude. But he was telling me, he's like, he grew up in church, like his dad was a pastor, this, and this. And he ran away from God for several years.
Yeah.
Several years. He's
Same
like,
thing
dude,
with
I ran. He's like, I ran the other direction, right? Now he obviously now has come back and like, it was his decision and like the whole thing. But he's like, dude, like again, and so like for me, it was like the opposite, bro. Like I was like not really involved as much like growing up because nobody forced me to. But then when I became mature enough, then I wanted to.
Exactly.
On my own.
Which people still do full circle sometimes,
sure.
like you said.
Yep.
I think I've actually made this kind of controversial, but this is my genuine belief recently. I don't think kids should attend church.
It's interesting, yeah.
And that's a big claim because there's probably a lot of ifs and buts.
Yep.
And I'm trying to think maybe there is a way. I just don't know it enough to make the claim associated with that claim, but maybe there's a way to do it.
Yep.
I don't know what that is. I just can make a claim saying I don't think kids should attend church and it's for this reason.
Maybe at like a real young age or like what
I'd say sub 12.
Yeah.
And it's for this reason. That. Religion, and again, I'm getting back into it. So I'm a very inexperienced person on God and stuff like that. But like you said, I'm at the point in my life, I want to do it on my own. No one's telling me to do it.
100%.
But I think when you're a kid, this is the big thing with religion. First of all, the Bible is a tough fucking book.
It is.
It's not Right now, I'm going to read the Bible. Yep. That's like a big thing. I want to read the Bible on my own. Not even go to church. Like, I'll go to church when I want. Not even... Whatever I want to do, I'll do. But I want to read the Bible.
Yep.
I know it's going to be hard at this age. I'm a smart fucking kid. It's going to be hard. A kid, the religion relates to life.
Yep.
If you can't make the bridge between what Scripture's saying or what they're teaching you in church and your life, which takes a lot of perspective and consciousness, which I don't think kids have at that age, I don't think you're going to get anything out of church.
It's tough.
And so I say that because when I was young, I'm trying to analyze where I went wrong with church. Yeah. And it's not just church, where I went wrong with religion. I've always believed in a God, but I've never had faith. Well, it's the reason my interest in God is now is because I've actually reverse engineered it by accident, and I've related things in my life back to God.
Wow.
Instead of relating God to my life.
That's powerful.
And so like things like tithing. Like I found out recently that tithing you do in life, not just in church.
Sure.
Where like I thought tithing was just like, here, take my money at church, and that's probably paying for their fucking M3 they're driving on the weekends. I accidentally tithed in my life. I gave away money without looking, and then I tell people and related it zero to God. And then I told people all the time, like, bro, whenever I'm doing really shitty, like a ton of money finds its way to me.
Wow.
And then I'm like, holy shit, that's probably God.
Yep.
Now, when you're a kid, you can, but it's going to be so hard for a kid to relate, to have the consciousness to relate what they're saying in Scripture to their lives.
Yeah.
They don't have that.
No, dude, I think there's a big part. And again, I'm a no, but I, like you said in the very beginning, you prefaced it perfectly. You're like, hey, I don't have the, and I don't know either. Who even determines what the right or wrong answer is? I guess it's just each individual parent.
Yeah.
But you know, it like there is truth, like for sure. Like I mean, you know, you hear about like in different religions and stuff, like babies getting sprinkled and stuff as a kid and all these things. And I think it's more for the parent than it is the kid.
100%.
And I think that's where like I do think to a certain degree like there is something to be said about that, right? Like at what point is it about the kid's relationship with God, or compared to what basically the parent's relationship with God?
Or is he a backpack coming to you with everything? Yeah.
Right. Because I do think like there is something to be said about like, hey, like, and again, I should probably brush up on all this and make sure I'm, you know, so like nobody, everybody just like opinion based here, but like it should be, we each get to have our own relationship with God, right? So like at no point should we ever be forced
100%.
To have this relationship, right? And I think that right there is like the issue, right?
Same thing back to what we were saying.
Right.
If you're forced to do something, it's not going to be
100%. And I agree. And so if you're too young to make your own decisions, then you know, it's like if the kid's 10 years old and he's really mature, like you follow Grant Cardone, I'd imagine. It's like Grant has 2 daughters. Dude, they are mature as heck. Okay. They're like 9 and 11. Like, dude, if you see his daughters, like I'll show you after the podcast, like they'll speak on stage in an arena with 60,000 people. I've seen his
kids speaking before.
Bro, like, I'm talking like 10 years old. If you looked at her, if you listened to her, you would think she was 19, 20, 23. Like, you know what I mean? So a kid like that, with that amount of experience, might be able to make her own decision. So again, it goes back to like, it's not an age thing almost. It's almost at what point can the kid make his or her own decision on whether or not they want to be there or not? And it might be based off of leading as an example as a parent. Instead of forcing, like, I want my kid to want to be like me, not to have to feel like they have to be like me.
Which is a big problem as a parent.
Huge difference, right? I want the kid to look at me and be like, I have a dope freaking dad. Like, he's a gangster, he's a stud.
He goes to church, I want to go to church.
Exactly. Like, if that's what he's doing, like, I want whatever he's doing. You know, I want them to want that, and I want to lead by example in life. I don't want it to be like, hey, you have to do this, this, or this.
Yeah, I want to make it really clear too. Like, I don't look down on my parents bringing me to church. It's completely understandable. If you're gonna go to church as an adult, you're not gonna leave your kid at home in a cage like a fucking dog. And also, it's like there's no bad, right?
Right.
But I do think you do risk ruining your kid's relationship with God at an early age.
At an early age.
And I say that from experience.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think a lot of people can accept that. So that's why I'm not scared saying it, is because it really does come from experience. A lot of us have been kids that went to church. It's your personal
testimony. It's your personal testimony, and you can't argue like your own testimony, your own truth, right? And I think there is a lot of truth to it. And obviously everything happens for a reason. So like, you know, people that do have to go through that experience, like hopefully eventually it does come full circle. And then now that they had that experience, they can somehow disciple and relate to other people in the future, and it's a relatable type of story or whatever, or what have you. You know, so dude, I think it's just like, the amount of gold that we dropped in this pod is actually honestly one of my favorite podcasts that I think I've done in this set. So, dude, I really appreciate you being here, bro. Of course. I feel like we could literally talk for hours
and we caught up through the podcast. Yeah. Like, I feel like we don't need to catch up again.
We know each other now again. Yeah, for sure. Because it's been a couple years, for sure. Like, pre-COVID.
Yeah.
I think it's the last time.
We talked a little bit about, like,
touring some real estate and stuff, which we definitely got to do some more, like, content.
Dude, I'm
like,
down.
You know?
I love houses
We'll tour some real estate. Maybe we'll, like, do some car videos or something. I have a Urus right now. Perfect. Before I sell it, we should do something with it, you know? But, dude, I appreciate you being here. I'll link all your stuff down below. Cool. What is it if they're not on a platform where they see the link down below?
Should just be my name, Jordan Beau, or my car channel is Driven by Jordan. And then I have a little second channel called Jobo.
Cool. Go look him up, guys. We'll definitely do another one. Jordan, you're the freaking man. I appreciate you being here, bro. And thank you guys for watching, and I look forward to seeing you guys in the next one.